always say that.
Tara McKelvey, you're a journalist and an author. You've written a book about torture and the US. And we've heard many reports about US torture-based interrogations in the Iraq and Afghan wars. How widespread has this actually been?
How widespread have the
torture
harsh interrogations or the torture of detainees?
Yeah.
In Iraq, they were done all over the place. I mean, the pictures of Abu Ghraib were what created the scandal, that those types of techniques were used in all different sites around the country. There didn't seem to be any system in sort of containing the interrogation tactics to any one site.
What have the American authorities used to justify their actions?
I mean, in private conversations and also publicly, the lawyers who came up with these methods said that they felt like they were doing what was right in terms of protecting the nation from attack. They believed that they thought this was going to, ferret out information from these Al-Qaeda suspects or people who were involved in planning terrorist attacks.
As your investigations continued, were you surprised at the extent? What was going on?
Yeah, I was shocked by it. Really shocked. I'm from Kansas City. I really love our country. And when I heard the stories about what Americans were doing to children and women, I was really appalled.
How the authorities treated journalists, and you in particular, in your investigations?
I'm sorry, say that again, please?
How have the US authorities treated you in your investigations and other journalists?
They wanted very much to tell their story. They were really glad that Americans were listening. They'd spent months or weeks or some period of time when no one would listen to them at all, even when they spoke English or even when they had access to interpreters. And they had a really strong desire to let the world know what had happened to them.
Okay. What is the public mood today about the interrogation techniques, and how does it compare with what it was like when this started to break?
I think most Americans feel the way I did when I first heard about them. Eric Holder, the U.S. Attorney General, who's head of the Justice Department, said that when he read the reports about interrogations, it turned his stomach. That was the effect they had on me, too. But when I was reporting on it several years ago, that was not what people were saying, or that was not the way people felt in the United States.
Did people believe what was being reported?
They saw the photographs from Abu Ghraib. I mean, they were appalled by them, but they tried to restrict the problem into some narrow category. Over time, it became impossible to deny the scope of the problem.
Some lower-ranking military people have been tried and jailed because of this. But what about towards the top?
No one at the higher level has been prosecuted or even investigated in a serious manner for the things that have been done. It also seems unlikely that there'll ever be prosecutions of people at the highest level of government. But at least now with Eric Holder, there's an inquiry into the interrogation practices.
What can be done to ensure that politicians and the high-ranking officials responsible for such torture can be prosecuted?
I don't know if there will ever be prosecution of those individuals. One of the things that they set up before they did the interrogations, for the CIA officials, for instance, they had what they called top cover. Once the Justice Department approved these interrogation methods, they were providing some sort of assurance that they would never be prosecuted for them. An inquiry at least lets us know what happened, and that's the start of any trial.
Did you go right to the top? Responsibility?
I think people have tried to trace it up, and certainly that's what I did. It's a very careful and painstaking process, but the more evidence that comes out, the more we can track it, and the more accountability there will be.
How has this affected the U.S. image abroad?
The U.S. image abroad was already pretty bad. People didn't exactly hold America in high standing, but after this it tanked. America was seen as a symbol of hypocrisy. The hooded man was known in certain parts in countries where they spoke Arabic. They called it the Statue of Liberty. It was a shameful period for Americans, and we're still suffering from the blow to our image, even with Obama in office.
So it'll be some time before you're back at the top of the league.
I think it's hard for me, as proud as I am of our country, it's hard for me to say that we should have a high standing in the world when those kinds of things were done in our name.
Tom McKelvey, thank you much indeed. Michael de Laine for the Copenhagen Voice at a meeting about torture and the media, or the media reporting of torture, rather than doing torture on people.
It's very meta.